fact, Sally was looking at it. Who's that? That's Richard. Richard who? Tarlow. What? She looks at it, and you don't look the same when you're 74 and 25. So anyway, I haven't read the article. I'll read it at lunchtime when I'm reading your turn in your homework, please. Your homework. I have to fight from falling asleep at lunchtime when I'm reading your stuff. It's so well written. And I always, when I'm reading it, I always say, well, this is maybe English isn't his primary language, and then I see it is, and I go, fuck. Actually, some of the people that are writing English as their second or third language actually write better than the people that write English as their first language. And then there's different parts of the world that seem to write better English. Australia's not one of them. Hey, Australia's not one of them. Australia's not one of them.
Mr. Dan, we got a question for you.
Sure.
Is there a certain type of goblin in the castle?
Well, no, I don't know about goblin. We have two ghosts in the main castle. In the main castle, where you're staying is when that's the bedroom I stayed in when the renovation was going on, because I was here by myself, and I'm really not afraid of anything, but many nights, 15, 20 nights. You know how you hear in the movies they say like dragon chains and stuff, and it wasn't exactly that, but you know how your bathroom, you have to go outside, right? No, aren't you in the top bedroom?
He is.
Okay, who's in the top bedroom? Okay, you're in the top bedroom. Okay, that's the bedroom I say. And you know how you have to go outside?
Yeah.
Okay, well that door used to be open. The one to the bathroom. It's not. It's. I barred it shut permanently. About 30 years ago. Yeah, but I mean, and I just pulled those covers up over my head and just pretended I didn't hear anything. You know.
Were you in the castle at 4 o'clock this morning?
No, I wasn't up before.
There's a real quick talk and then bang the door and shut and it was just dead silent.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have the two main ghosts are Lady Guthrie and a black slave from the Caribbean, and back in the late 1500s, as did the Scots in those days, they get drunked up, and that's why they wear kilt with no underwear, because you can just fuck everybody. And so they got all drunked up, and 8 or 10 guys, Sir John Guthrie said, well, let's rape my wife. So 8 or 10 guys raped her. They've been drinking up, throwing up, like the good old days. Like the good old days. And then she went up to the top of the thing, leaped off, and killed herself. Oh. About months later, or a couple years later, as the stories go, one of the maids, black maids, same thing. She went up to the top and killed herself. In 1629, the Bishop of St. Andrews, in his homily during the Mass, he had been here, drunked up. I don't know if he raped anybody, but he was drunked up, and he saw the ghost for the first time. That's when the first time it was written about, in 1629. So those are the two main squeeze ghosts, those two. And then in this end of the castle, 15, 20 years ago, we discovered or saw another ghost that looks like the Great Gatsby from the 20s. The only ghost I've ever had any interfacing with was the slave ghost outside my office about 20 years ago. I saw peripheral vision kind of floating up the stairs. But the kids swear that when they were little, they used to hide and see the ghost roaming around. Then I bought a suit of armor, 16th century Spanish suit of armor. And and pictures were off the wall, but not broken. They were off. You know those big pictures in the mail, taken off the wall and set on the ground. Wow. And but they weren't happy, and so then I called up Sotheby's and asked them. The kid said that there's something not right with that suit of armor, Daddy. So when you walked in, there was a suit of armor with a hatchet and that, like you see. And they said, well, it's supposedly haunted. Oh, well, you get your ass back here, give me my money back. Or give me a credit. They gave me a credit, I think. They took it away, and then everything went back to normal. But there's a family trapped, chauffeur's cottage, just that side of the chauffeur's cottage. If you go about 70 or 80 meters, kind of at 2 o'clock, there are little headstones, gravestones, this big, a bunch of them. And we used to tell the kids growing up that those were for pets, but they weren't. They're little babies that were born and were killed because the Lord of the Manor used to fuck all the help whenever he felt like it. The good old days. I mean, this was the good fucking old days. And then the kids died, or they killed them, depending on what story you want to believe. And they're buried there. And you can go there. But there's a family trapped. And when about 3 years ago, I went around and as part of my ritual, putting my mother's, it took me 10 years to get the balls to take my mom's ashes and put some in Mexico, some there with different places, some in the wall garden. And so the priest that was blessing the place said, well, do you want to bless all the ghosts? I look at him, I go, what do you mean all the ghosts? He says, oh yeah, well there's others. And he told me about the family. He said, well, so he blessed them that are wandering around here. And there's a ghost up in the Carrington Cottage where Murph stand. We had a psychic, really a psycho lady a few years ago who came to the seminar. She after the second night, she wouldn't. She's out sleeping I'll sleep in the hall. I can't sleep there. What?
I saw one last night.
Okay. Well, so we have them. But
It's not okay though.
pardon?
You starting to count.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, back with you. No.
Yeah. And
There is one in the chauffeur's cottage, or no?
yeah. They're we've got about, I guess, 8 or 9 altogether. And but originally the first 2 were, friends are over for a few drinks, right? You rape your old lady. I mean, yeah. I mean, William Wallace, Squire Guthrie in 1296, 1297 went from Arbroath to Calais to bring back William Wallace to fight the English. Squire Guthrie. The Guthries have been in Scottish politics and religion. Their seal is a Bible in one hand, a sword in the other. You either accepted the Lord or they chopped your fucking head off, as they say in this part of the world. And the first Chancellor of the Exchequer, the Secretary of the Treasury of Scotland, was a Guthrie. And so, but originally, in 1468, when they got the original land grant, they got the 500,000 hectares, which is about 2 million acres. So they basically had from here to Aberdeen, and but over the years, because they're not such great business people, they lost it all, and they'd give and they had a string of like 50 or 60 ugly daughters, and they had to give land to get them all married off. So you'd give 20,000 acres, 50,000 acres, etc. To marry one of the ugly Guthrie daughters. But Guthrie's got a lot of fucking opinions, but they got no fucking money. And when we first were here, before we had gates, and then before we had electric gates, they'd show up, at the very minimum, they wanted to have tea. At the maximum, they wanted to stay for 3 days. Just show up. So that's when we got more security, the gates, electric gates. And now they show up and then they phone, you can phone from the gate. Guthrie, thank you very much. Why don't you go up to Arbroath or Aberdeen? Goodbye, click. But yeah, we have ghosts. Yes, sir.
Dungeon as you're leaving?
Oh, the dungeon.
Dungeon?
Yeah, not in the castle. We have a bottle dungeon. A bottle dungeon meaning narrow at the top and it goes like this. So when they throw you in, you don't get out. If you go across the bridge, going that way, about 15, 20 meters on the right, there's a path, and we've actually cut back so you can see it now. And you go down, and then there's a stone edifice in the side of the hill with an iron gate that's locked because we've had people fall in there. And Derek and Dan lowered their sister down the dungeon many years ago. And so when they come back, we're looking for the Kelly. And where's Kelly? We don't know. And then Derek says, Danny made me do it. We lowered her down in the bottle dungeon. So we go down there, and she's screaming and yelling, and so we do have a dungeon. It's a bottle dungeon. So when you went in, you didn't never come out. But that's that's why I was born 400 or 500 years too late. And but 1468, James III of Scotland gave Sir John Guthrie a bunch of land for helping, fuck up the English, basically, kill a bunch of English. And the iron gate that is at the back of the first green was the gate to the tower. And the first thing that was built was the tower. The last thing was built where my office was. That was built in the late 1800s. And then in between, it was filled in and ultimately joined in the middle 1800s, 1848, I think it is, because you can see on the drainage, 1848. But the tower where the library is, and then the stories above the tower, including the Guthrie suite where Bert, I believe, is staying, is the original tower. And then used to be the stable was on the ground floor of the tower, and then the next floor was the living space or the kitchen, and then the next in the dining area. The next floor were the sleeping areas, and then of course the towers. And the crenellations. You know how the walls go like this. You know why there's crenellations? Because the first towers that were built, many hundreds of years ago, they ran out of stone. It wasn't for fighting. To fight through, they ran out of stone, and so then they figured out, these are good to shoot at because they're, you're protected on the sides. But the walls are roughly 8 to 12 feet thick in the tower, and the internet doesn't work so well in there. But the rest, please turn it off. The rest of the castle, and we have, of course, now they have internet. 10 years ago, we'd only have internet in the main hall and in the trophy room, but none of the rest of the castle. But now the internet's not bad, yeah.
How many bedrooms do you have?
19 bedrooms. And I'm not inviting any of my family, so just to make it clear, and nor any of the Guthries.
That's the castle, but if you include all the property, you probably have 30, 40?
No, maybe 30. Yeah, and and something breaks every day. Every day something breaks, and that's just the way it is. The way it is, and before we renovated, we rewired it, we plumbed it, and all that. I mean, something broke 5 times a day. 5 times. But we used to have, the castle used to be all thunder boxes, like the toilet that's off the main hall where you pull the thing up and you push it down. That was most of the toilets. And they don't make the parts for those anymore. So we cannibalized, we shut 11 or 12 of them down, we kept all the parts, and we only kept one original thunder box. And for the girls, if you pull the plunger, you're going to get a free douche. Or for the girl, there's only one girl here. And the guys, if they pull the plunger, they come out and they're all wet. That's because they didn't stand up when they flushed the toilet. And because the water comes down, and it's coming down from about 40 feet up, and that's like a goddamn tsunami coming down. And but when we first were given seminars, we had more than that thunderbox. And guys and gals frequently would show up with their pants all wet. Because there were no towels in there, and all of it was you can only dry yourself so much with toilet paper, So I answered your question, a long-winded question. What did you see last night?
Steve Ballmer.
Ballmer. Now he's an alpha male. Everybody figured that out. Yeah.
He's a very good public speaker.
Yeah. He didn't used to be back in the day, but and he was nervous before that talk. Because he knew it was going to be on fucking YouTube forever. And I believe it was the first talk he made since he left CEO of Microsoft. And he's a salesman. And he didn't, this is probably an exaggeration, but he didn't know much about the various products he had. All he knew, like Muhammad, they were the fucking greatest. So I'm not the only guy that ever said, I'm the fucking greatest. I mean, there's been plenty of other people. And when they were saying it, they probably weren't the greatest to begin with, but they left themselves no backup plan. Whereas, what are you taught? Just the opposite. Don't embarrass yourself. Keep your head down. Keep your mouth closed. You're an exception to that rule. Did your parents tell you, keep your big fucking mouth, flap it? Is that what they told you? Okay. And what else about Steve? Yep, and he does. High performance, absolutely.
He has his own style.
Pardon?
He did everything, but he kept his own style.
Correct. And coming in the wake of Bill, and we're going to talk about some of the litigation Bill and Steve have been involved in, that somehow you guys never Google fucked it. And somehow they keep it out of Wikipedia. They're aggressive guys. And Bill, Bill, Elon, and Warren are introverts. And whereas Ballmer is not an introvert. What else about Steve?
He said that optimism is a force multiplier. It's Colin Powell's words, but I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. And it is. I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt. I'm always optimistic. I'm always enthusiastic. Being enthusiastic it was easy for me. But it's not easy, and not just because you have the physical energy. Like I get the fucking retards. Oh, you look like you maintaining your energy. I don't even know. I'm not sure what that means actually, but I've always had a lot of energy. I only wish that when I was younger I could have translated that energy into athletic ability, but it didn't work out that way. What else about Steve?
We have to
Working
go.
weekends?
Pardon?
All about working weekends?
Yeah.
Well, even more, have to go all in for the long term and be hardcore in order to be successful. Got to go all in.
All in, 100%. Don't leave anything on the field. Although he articulates that, Elon and these guys and gals and the people that we've talked about so far are exactly that. Tonight you're going to see Klaus when he stood right about here, 4 years ago, and he talked, and 3/4 of the group that seminar were Germans. When they heard that Klaus was coming, and I didn't announce Klaus till maybe because I wasn't sure of his schedule, but then because that was going to be my last seminar, I thought it was in April of 2014. And so he came, and then it was like the Third Reich was there. 3/4, the group like this were all Germans. And when you come in during the break or in the morning, it sounded like Hitler's bunker in late April 1945, because everybody's speaking German. And to their credit, 3 of my 5 up there, and 3 of my superstars are all German. When they get the shit, it's why they almost won the fucking war back then. When they get the shit, they get the shit. They really get it. And what else about Steve?
Extremely optimistic.
Yeah. Well, all the guys are optimistic. And again, they're not influenced by the facts. Okay, YouTube.